Hello, my friends. Happy Sunday to you. Look at this beauty. So today I am working on a 24 by 24 canvas and I'm creating this for a special project. So I thought I'd film it and bring you along. So I am just putting a bunch of vintage papers down with some matte medium and just kind of beginning to think right now about what might actually show through. When I'm creating just for myself, I really kind of throw caution to the wind, but when this is for a particular commission or project, I have a little bit more intention. Now I am using gesso, and this is vintage quatrefoil. I'll be using quite a few stencils today, but I'm using gesso and I'm just laying down some pattern in the background to create some really great texture. That's the Old World Minis stencil, and the gesso has enough tooth to give it some great texture, and you'll see that in just a minute. But I'm just pushing those papers back and beginning the first layers of the background. That's the Doodle Circle stencil. And I'm using a foam brush because it gives me a more even stencil, I guess you would say. And so now I am just taking some medium gray. This is actually a heavier body paint, and I want to do just a little bit of a dry brush over it, and I'm just pulling it back with a rag just to kind of get it to catch in all of the texture of the stenciling and the gesso, and again further developing that background. And I'll just wet it down and pull it back over and over again. And so now I am doing my pressed paper technique, and that happens to be one of the many techniques in the new Yummy Layered Backgrounds workshop. If you have not purchased that, you should check it out. I'm getting some really great comments from students on how much they're loving it. So I'm using a darker gray value, and now this is Payne's gray. And I'm just now developing the background as far as separating the table from the top and further building up all that texture, because that pressed paper technique really makes it scratchy and grungy and gives it lots of texture. I'm using my Payne's gray and a very wide brush to just kind of gently define my spaces here, and pulling that back with some water on my rag. And now I'm using some burnt umber to give it some more grunge. You know I like the grunge. Now I'm using my large vase stencil to just give me a guide. I always say use your stencils as a guide, and I can't say it enough because it just helps you define your space, and you're not reinventing the wheel every time you want to create, and so you can adjust your stencil designs, make them larger or smaller or different things like that, but it gives you your guide. So now I am putting down some crackle paint, and I purposely left it white because I'm going to go over it with a glaze. But I put that crackle paint on with a brush and just let it be and let it do its thing. Now I'm coming in with Silhouette Flower Stencil, and all those stencils are going to be listed. These are some of the new ones. And I'm getting the silhouette of the flower in gesso. I'm using gesso. And again, this is a guide. This is going to help me develop my plan for this vase of flowers. They won't stay looking like all of this, but what it does is it helps you get the dimension right, where petals are shorter or longer, and then you can add to it. And I love that because it makes the process go so fast. So these are all the new Silhouette Flower stencils, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I don't remember which ones they are yet, but again, they'll all be listed on the blog. So now that I have my basic shapes down, now is the time where all of our artistic brush strokes and things come into play. And I just begin filling in the spaces, and then all of a sudden when you start doing that, you can see the shape of the flower and where it needs a petal or what it needs. And it helps, again, like I said, it helps you get the dimension of the flower, where a petal might be shorter or longer, and it just makes the process so easy. And I went with the neutral palette because of what I was needing this week, and I'll share more about that at the end of the video. But just super peaceful. And now I just begin adding more petals and different brush strokes to the flowers as I see it. Now that I'm starting to fill in the space, it's like it comes to life, and I can see where I need leaves or more petals or stems or different fills, and I just love when that happens. Adding some umber, and I'll go over these many times to just kind of finesse the shading and the centers of the flowers. But just adding some raw umber to add some contrast. And I'll mix gesso in with it to kind of lighten it up and give it some variation. And now I'm just creating my own flower as the focal point. And right now that flower just really kind of blends right in, but it won't. We'll add some contrast with some bright, bright white. And now I'm adding some umber to that vase to really catch in all of the cracks that that crackle paint has created, and allowing that umber to be the shading. I add some Payne's Gray and then pull it back so that that's my highlights and my lowlights. And now I'm coming back in with some Payne's Gray and further adding some contrast to the petals, to the centers, and I grabbed some titanium white to mix in with my gesso to make sure that it's bright, bright. And I'll do the dance, like I like to call it, where you just kind of go back and forth. I squint my eyes, I take a picture to see what needs to pop out, what needs to be pushed back, what more definition needs to happen, if there's more contrast. And this is where I'm adding that titanium white to really make the flowers really stand out nice and bright and white. So now I'm going to do some further definition. I've grabbed my Senlier chalk soft pastels, and I'm going to add my shading and further details to my flowers, to my stems, to my leaves. And now I'm just using my charcoal pencil, my favorite tool in my toolbox, and adding that fine detail all around the flowers, and then I'll add some shading around the edges with my pastels, and she is done. I didn't put a word on her, and I'll explain that in the end of the video. Stick around for the rest of the story. And if you like today's video, subscribe and like, and stay tuned for more videos, Sundays and Thursdays, and creative team videos. If you're new to my channel, there's always something going on. I'm adding some highlights there with my pressed paper technique on the table. And I added shading with my paint and with my chalk pastel. And that's it, my friends. I hope you have a wonderful Sunday, and I will see you soon. Hello, lovies. Happy Sunday to you. Look at this beauty. It's so big that it doesn't fit all the way into the picture. But oh, the texture, the grunge, the goodness, the softness, that's all there. It's just so good. I shared throughout the video products that I was using, and the stencils. Got to play with some of my new stencils, some old stencils. I used a ton, but the texture on this is just amazing. And it's really simple, and it's soft, and I don't have a word or a single thing on here. And that was on purpose. It has been a crazy week in the shop, and I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for just always loving and supporting me and what I do. And you guys got some good stencils this week, and it has just been crazy. Me and my 2 assistants have been working non-stop to get all of the orders out, and this here is my peaceful place. I'm just needing that kind of quiet time. It's not happening yet, but it will, and this is my reminder. And so often as we are going through our day, we get so busy and we get caught up in all of the things that we have to do. We have to do them. We got to pay the bills. We got to do our stuff. You know, that kind of stuff. But there comes a time when we need to take a break. We need to find some solitude. And sometimes that's maybe not even just solitude like everybody leave me alone, although that's all right too. Sometimes it's just solitude of getting quiet in your spirit and in your soul and reflecting on the good and all of the wonderful things that are happening, or what you're learning from the present moment that you're in, or all of those things. But I sometimes just need to quiet the world, quiet the frenzy, quiet all of the stuff, and just kind of get quiet in my soul and really soak in the goodness and really find my gratitude place. And that's what this represents. So short and sweet today. I'm super busy in the shop, and I'm so incredibly grateful for you guys and for your response to the new stencil launch. And orders are heading out really, really fast, and a great response to the new workshop and all of that. So thank you, thank you. And if you are in a super busy season of your life, or you're really struggling with something, don't forget to just take a moment to get quiet. It rejuvenates us. It gives us strength. It helps us gather ourselves together so that we can continue on. And all of the things that we're doing are really great. And all of the things that we're involved in, we're learning from, and all those things, they're part of our world. And sometimes we just need to get quiet for a few seconds so that then we have more to give to those around us. So I am grateful for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope your Sunday is peaceful and you can find that moment where it's quiet for just a second, even if it's just inside your soul. All right, my loves, I hope your Sunday is awesome, and I hope that you always, always know that you are loved.